Hi guys, so for today's video, right, I'll be covering on this upcoming launch at the River Valley area called the River Green. And this area is going to be quite exciting because there is a total of 4 plots coming up. Later on, I'll share in more detail regarding these 4 plots. And also, I'll be sharing with you what I see on the ground, right? Because the most recently TOP project nearby in this area, which is a 99-year Irwell Hill Residences. So this is also a quality product by CDL. If we already know that this is a quality product, we need to see how it actually fares in the rental and resale market over here, and then from there I'm quite sure we have valuable insights as to how these 4 plots at the River Valley and Zion Road area will perform. Alright, so stay tuned. For this River Green plot at the Great World City MRT area is expected to launch second half of this year, and if you want to find out more about this development or you want to take a look at the show flat when it's ready for preview, you can scan the QR code or contact me via WhatsApp at 84849302. Looking forward to hear from you guys. Okay, so for those of you that's not familiar with the River Valley area, right? Over here we have the Great World City MRT, and if you see on the map itself, this plot over here, this is the River Green plot, and this will be launching in the second half of this year. The ones I circled over here, Irwell Hill Residences, Avenue, Martin Modern. These are the newer condos over here. And for today, I'll just be covering deeper into Irwell Hill Residences, just to give you a sensing across the different bedroom types. So this will kind of form the basis of comparison when we want to look at River Green Parcel A itself. So now when we see the GLS plots, right? This one is the Parcel A, Parcel B, and this is Parcel C. So Parcel C is the last plot over here that is recently up for sale. Then over here we also have the Zion Road Parcel A and Parcel B. But do take note, after crossing this Singapore River Canal area, right, these are all under CCR, whereas this one is under RCR already. Okay, so now moving on to the River Valley Green GLS and also the Zion Road GLS. Okay, so over here we have the master plan for the River Valley area, and I've labeled each area. So this is Parcel A, Parcel C, Parcel B, Zion Road Parcel A and Parcel B. And over here, I have the summary for all the plots. So Zion Road Parcel A, the tender date is April 2024 and the land rate is at 1,200 PSF PPR. But do take note that this one includes service apartment component, so the PSF PPR calculation might be a little bit different. Now for the second one, which is River Valley Green, June 2024, and the number of bidders we have 2, and number of units 380, 1325 PSF PPR. Zion Road Parcel B, August 2024, 2 bidders, total number of units 610, 1304 PSF PPR. Last but not least, River Valley Green Parcel B, February 2025, then the tender just closed. So total number of bidders 5, 475 units, 1420 PSF PPR. So I think this is a very interesting area because you can see from April 2024 to February 2025, right, the number of bidders from the developers actually started to increase gradually. And the last plot over here, the Parcel B, we actually have 5 bidders. You can see the land rate actually slowly increasing in this area as well. Zion Road, right, from 1,002 you increase to about 1,003 PSF PPR. Whereas for River Valley Green Parcel A, from 1,003 PSF, we have slowly increased to 1,004 PSF PPR. And last but not least, we have the River Valley Green Parcel C. So this one, the tender hasn't closed yet, but this will be one of the sites to look out for. And I think if we're looking at 1,004 PSF PPR as the benchmark, this one we are expecting a higher land price for this Parcel C. Okay, so now to look closer at this River Valley Green plot Parcel A, right? 2 bidders, Wing Thai and Hong Realty. So for these 2 bidders, we are looking at 1325 PSF PPR, and then the second bidder coming close at 1270 PSF PPR. So judging by just these 2 bids, I'm quite sure that the margin is quite close. And this is actually 100,000 square feet land for this area. So if you look at the map just now that I showed, right, this plot is actually the closest plot to the MRT itself. And over here, I have the recent launches using their pricing, right, on the average PSF on the launch day and also their PSF PPR. I have come up with the estimation, right, on how we can calculate for River Green's launch day pricing. So Bloomsbury Residences averaging about 2,004 PSF, land price was 1191 PSF PPR. OMG, One Marina Gardens, 2953 PSF. The land price was about 1402 PSF PPR. And then we have Lentor Central, 982 PSF PPR. We're looking at about average of 2200 PSF. I will be using Lentor Central as the gauge because most of the high floor units are already sold for Lentor Central, but One Marina Gardens and Bloomsbury Residences hasn't sold most of its high floor units. So just based off the Lentor Central's 2.24 multiplier, right, I have come up with these estimates. We are looking at around a 2600, 2700 PSF PPR Zion Road Parcel A, 2968 PSF PPR for the River Green Parcel A, 2920 PSF for Zion Road Parcel B, and 3180 for River Valley Green Parcel B. So do take note for this 2692 PSF, right? For the Zion Road Parcel A, you cannot take this at face value because in the end, right, it's still inclusive of the 400 plus service apartments over here in the same plot. Yeah, so definitely the developer will have to price it a little bit differently as compared to the other plots. But I think the other plots give you a more accurate sensing, right, of how much they're going to be launching at. When we look at the River Valley Green Parcel A, you will kind of see why this plot has a few of my clients, right, already asking when is the actual launch. If you see over here, their plot, right, 1325 PSF PPR, and then this will translate to about a 2968 PSF estimate on launch day. And when we look across, right, you can see One Marina Gardens, the land price, they are already at 1004 PSF PPR, and then they are already averaging at 2953 PSF. And do bear in mind that One Marina Gardens is a RCR plot of land. When you compare to River Valley, right, it is actually CCR area. Of course, the land not going to be as big as the one at One Marina Gardens, but overall, the number of units is not too bad. It's at 380. When we look at River Valley compared to Marina Gardens area, right, I think for most Singaporeans, they might be more accepting of the River Valley area for own stay because of the schools nearby. But when you look at One Marina Gardens area, not many people might be able to accept it unless you are like a bachelor, if you are looking to do rental in the marina area. So the target audience is a little bit different. Okay, so next up, we are looking at the resales nearby for this GLS. To start things off, we have Irwell Hill Residences at the top left-hand corner, TOP this year and a 99-year lease. The Avenue, TOP in 2024, this is a freehold development. Martin Modern, TOP 2021, this is also a 99-year leasehold. And last but not least, we have River Condo, and this is at 2023 TOP, 99-year lease. Do take note that this is at District 3 and is an RCR development. So like I mentioned just now, the moment you cross the river over here, it becomes RCR region. And now when you put everything together, you will see why I actually want to use Irwell Hill Residences as a main comparison, because Irwell Hill Residences is the most recent 99-year lease condominium that TOP here. So I will be using these to gauge how the other plots will perform. Moving on to Irwell Hill Residences. Okay, so looking back on the launch day for Irwell Hill Residences, you can see that the take-up rate is pretty strong. We are looking at 50% of the units sold. And I would expect, right, similar margins for the other River Valley plots as well, because I think these are generally have a lot of local demand, especially for Singaporeans. And you can see based on this article in 2021, buyers actually bought 278 units out of the 540 units from CDL's development, Irwell Hill Residences. This one actually launched at an average price of $2,700 per square feet back in 2021. And about 80% of the buyers are looking at Singaporeans, and the rest are from PR and foreigners from these countries. And this plot, right, CDL actually bought this for 1515 PSF PPR, and this plot is 137,000 square feet. Even though here, right, they are actually buying at a higher price compared to today, but the land was actually more valuable back then because for the developers, they didn't have to do the harmonization. That's why the developers today, they will bid the land price a little bit lower simply because the land is less valuable on their end. So I do expect a very strong take-up rate, right, when this River Green plot is launched, because this will be the first plot out of the 4 plots. So this is the cheapest plot already if you don't count the service apartment plot at Zion Road. Okay, so next up, I want to compare side by side for Irwell Hill Residences versus the 2 plots at River Valley Green. So Irwell Hill, right, we are looking at 138,000 square feet in terms of land size. So this one already is going to be bigger than both Parcel A and Parcel B. Parcel A, we are looking at about 100,000 square feet, whereas for Parcel B, we are looking at about 126,000 square feet. The total number of units over here, 540 units. Parcel A, 380 units. Parcel B, 580 units. And you can see over here, based on the residential status, we have 74% Singaporeans, 50% PR, and the rest is foreigners. Based on this time round's ABSD for foreigners and PR, right, I'm expecting the Singaporean percentage to actually go up towards the 80 plus to even 90 percentile. And you can see the purchaser address, majority of them are coming from private property, 77%, and only 22% comes from HDB upgraders. Last but not least, we have the site plan for Irwell Hill Residences. So for this 130,000 square feet plot of land, we have 2 blocks, Block 2 and Block 6. So you have 2 swimming pools, a drop-off point over here, and a tennis court, as well as a lawn area. So I think this particular site plan quite standard. You can see CDL having this kind of arrangement for the site plan for most of their projects. So I don't think site plan, right, will be an issue for this particular product itself based on how the developer actually planned the buildings, right? So you see this block, majority are not facing each other directly, so definitely the level of privacy is still there. Over here, we have the breakdown of the unit types. For the 1-bedders, we have 34 units, 1 plus study, 102 units, 2-bedders, 302 units, 3-bedders, 66 units, 4-bedders, 33 units, the 4-bedder plus penthouse, 2 units, and then the 5-bedroom penthouse, 1 unit. So you can see when the developer actually planned this development, right, majority of the units are actually catered towards the smaller bedrooms. We have about 400 plus units going for the 1 and 2-bedders, whereas we only have about 100 units, right, for the 3, 4, and 5 bedrooms. Here we have the rental yield performance, right, just a summary. For the 1 and 2 bedders, we have transactions in the sales and also the rentals. But for the 3, 4, and 5 bedders, we don't have any transactions for the sales yet. But for the rental, right, we already have a few for the 3 bedders. You can see for the rental yield, we are looking at average from 2.7% to 4.48%. And also the 2-bedders, we are looking at 2.83% to 4.76%. So the average yield between the two, 3.39% for the 1-bedders, and then the 2-bedders, we are looking at 3.44%. So now we'll be looking closer on the 1-bedroom types. I won't be covering on the layout types because generally the 1-bedders are quite similar, so they won't make too much of a difference over here. Since the TOP of this project, Irwell Hill Residences, we have 2 transactions. There are 452 square feet and 495 square feet transactions. They only recently sold in March 2025, and their PSF was looking at 2007 all the way to 2009. And the profit margin, we're looking at 72,000 and 138,000. Their prices when they purchased and they sold 1.26 million and 1.48 million. So holding period was about 3 years plus, annualized about 1.5% and 2.5%. When we see the number of units sold for the 1-bedders, you can also see that there is a total of 40 units available at Property Guru today. Do take note there could be a couple of duplicates. And we have a total of 136 units over here. So of course, I don't know the exact numbers when we look at how many units are actually duplicated, but just based off this number of transactions versus the number of units on sale, right, I do think you're going to take a while for the units to clear out over here at Irwell Hill Residences. Just to make a guess, I won't be surprised if we still see quite a few units for the 1-bedders at Irwell Hill in the resale market, maybe 1 year and even 2 years down the road. Because if we see we take an average of 2 units per month, right, this will still take an average of maybe 20 months to clear. Assuming that there is still a lot of duplicates, maybe we can take even 12 months to just clear about 24 units. So do bear in mind, this is the kind of pacing you're looking at for the one bedders here. Okay, so now when we look at the rentals for the one bedder over here, and you can see we have 18 units transacted for Irwell Hill's one bedder. We have a total of 61 units for rent for the studio or the one bedroom apartments at Irwell Hill Residences. So I think this one definitely is a much healthier ratio as compared to what we see at the for sale lah. Over here I put a summary. 40 units for sale, 2 units sold, 18 units rented, 61 units for rent, and you still have a total of 136 units. And if you count the number of units rented out, right, from January to March, we have a total of 18 months. This is Jan to March. If we look at 61 units, right, maybe there's a couple of duplicates. I do expect the unit to clear up within 2 to 3 months. So this is definitely not as scary as what we see for the sale, for the movements. Okay, so over here, I just want to do a rough gauge, right, on the one bedroom yield. Average price, we are looking at 1.37 million over here, and then the rent will be 4,200. Using this calculator, 1.37 million, interest rate at about 2.5%, 30-year loan tenure, LTV 75%. The loan amount we are looking at is about 1.02 million. This will come up to a monthly repayment of 4,000-ish. So when we look at this 4,000 monthly installment, it looks quite okay because at least the rental can cover the monthly installment. But of course, you still need to take note of the non-occupier property tax, monthly maintenance fees, agent fees for rent, and also if you're looking to cash out in the future, you need to take note that the interest payments made to the bank. So when we look at this $4,000, right, we need to take note about half goes to principal and then half goes to interest. So interest over here, then principal. So when you sell your property, right, you will only get back this principal amount. This interest amount is earned by the banks. So of course, for my clients that are looking to do investment, right, I really think this is the minimum you should do in terms of calculating not just your yield, but also all the other hidden costs when it goes to rental property in Singapore. Okay, so next up, I'll be covering on the two bedders. So for the two bedders at Irwell Hill Residences, they are ranging from 600 plus square feet all the way to 829. Actually, the profit margin is quite okay. Some of them in the 200k, some of them in the 100k range. Of course, if you compare to the other RCR and OCR project, I don't think this is a very strong performance. But overall, we're still looking at a profit. In terms of the holding period, we are looking at 3 years plus, almost 4 years for some of them. And the annualized return, I think some of them are actually quite poor. We are looking at some even 1.89% all the way to 3.4%, 3.83%. And when we go onto Property Guru, we see 100 units on sale for the 2 bedrooms at Irwell Hill Residences. So just a summary over here, we have 100 units on sale, 9 of them are sold, and a total of 302 units. So we are looking at about almost 30% of the total number of units being sold. But do take note there could be a few duplicates. So now we have the rental for the 2 bedrooms at Irwell Hill Residences. And you can see the rental, we are looking about 24 transactions from January this year to March. Quite healthy also. But the number of properties for rent, right, this is the concerning part for me. So for Irwell Hill Residences, there is a very, very strong competition and the demand cannot keep up in this particular development. So just now, as I mentioned, we have about 100 units for sale, 9 units sold, 24 units rented out, and then we have 225 units for rent. Total of 302 units. So you can see already 100 units for sale, 9 sold, 24 units rented, 225 units for rent, and then total only got 302. And definitely the total number already more than the total number of units. And this means that there is a lot of duplicates and majority of the people here, they are looking for rental income. So when we already see CDL, right, they already allocate 302 units for the total number of units over here. I'm not surprised to actually see this happening when we reach the TOP because majority of the people buying here, they might be looking for investment. So they either want to rent out their unit fast or they want to just flip the unit for profit. So now when we look at the 2 bedroom yield, average price, This is just the average of all the transacted ones. I'm looking at 1.885 million, average rent about 5,400. Just using the same calculations, LTV, we're looking at loan of 1.4 million range. And the monthly repayment works out to 5,500 to about 5,600. Additional cost to factor in, same thing, non-occupier property tax, monthly maintenance fees, agent fees for rent, and also interest payments towards the banks. So when we look at the numbers itself, to me, right, it does seem like the one bedder offer a better cash flow as compared to the two bedrooms, because I think for this area, maybe there is a huge supply for the two bedrooms at Irwell Hill. That is why the transacted rent is not as high as expected. But else for the one bedders, their proportion for the number of units rented out versus the supply over there is not as high as compared to the two bedders. So maybe that's why they could achieve a higher rent. Okay, so now moving on to the three bedrooms. So the information for the three bedrooms is kind of limited because there is no transactions at Irwell Hill Residences for the three bedders. But we have a total of 13 units for sale, and we have a total of 66 units in terms of supply. So for the three bedrooms, we have 800 plus square feet all the way to 1,002 square feet. Lowest asking price at Property Guru, we have 2.6 million. So this is the 861 square feet layout types. So the asking price, we are looking at 3019 PSF. I'm expecting for this unit to actually sell, we should be looking at 2,900 PSF range, because for the three bedders over here, it shouldn't be too far off from what we see at the two bedders. This will translate to about 2.5 million range for the three bedrooms. And if you go and do some homework, actually this 861 square feet unit is a very compact three bedder. 13 units on sale, 0 units sold, and a total number of 66 units, right? It does look like a lot of them are actually owner occupied. So now let's look at how many 3 bedrooms are actually rented out as well. We have a total of 3 units that is transacted for rent for the 3 bedrooms, and total number of units for rent, 18 3 bedrooms. So now when we look closely on the compound number, 13 units for sale, 0 sold, 3 units rented, 18 units for rent. We have about 50% share of the 3 bedrooms that is owner occupied. And if you account for duplicates, right, this number can go further down. So when we add this all 3 together, we have about 30 plus units. So maybe there could have been a few duplicates. So we'll be looking at the number lower to the 20 plus range. So this is about 30% of the units that is being investor and not owner occupied. So the remaining 70% we are looking at should be for own stay. Even looking at these Irwell Hill Residences, right? If I'm looking to buy in these upcoming 4 plots, especially the 2 plots in the River Valley Green area, I'll be looking towards the 3 bedrooms, because for the 3 bedrooms, it does seem like the competition for the number of units on the market for rental or for sale is not as much as the 1 and 2 bedders. Okay, so now let's take a look at the 3 bedroom yield, right, for Irwell Hill Residences. So since there hasn't been any transactions, I'm just going to use 2.6 million as the gauge because this is the lowest asking price. So lowest rent transacted, we have 7,500. So using the same calculations, right, we come up with a monthly repayment of about $7,700. Of course, if you can get a lower transaction for the 3 bedrooms, then definitely we can match the rental closer towards the monthly repayment. As of now, it is still a negative cash flow, and you still have to factor in the additional costs over here. Okay, now moving on to the 4 bedroom types. So for the 4 bedrooms, we have 35 units on sale. Total number of supply, 33 and 2 respectively. So it's quite interesting because cannot be all the 4 bedrooms here for sale. So I'm very sure there is a lot of duplicates over here. And the lowest asking here, 5 million at 1,582 square feet. So this is quite a big 4 bedroom size, and 3,160 PSF. And for here, there's only 3 properties for rent. So I would think this is one of the smallest margin already in terms of the total number of supply. But there hasn't been any transactions for rent. So 3 out of 35, definitely a much better ratio compared to the 1, 2 and 3 bedrooms. For the 4 bedrooms, I couldn't do the monthly cash flow and also the rental yield calculation because there isn't any transaction for the rent and also for the sale. Last but not least, we have the 5 bedroom type. So for the 5 bedroom types, we have only one unit over here at Irwell Hill Residences, and you can see quite obvious we have 43 duplicates. These are all marketing for the same unit, and the asking price is at 11.08 million. 4253 PSF. Very clearly, this owner just looking for the best price and just getting all the agents to market the same unit. Okay, so my overall thoughts, right, for this River Valley plot and also how Irwell Hill Residences will be affected. You can see for parcel A, we are looking at average, my guess is about 2968 PSF. And then for parcel B, 3180 PSF for the launch. Today, if I'm a Irwell Hill Residences owner, right, I'll be quite worried. Why do I say this? Is because you can go forward in the video, so you can take a look at the transacted prices for the 1-bedders and 2-bedders. You can see they are very close to what I estimate for the launch pricing for parcel A. And at the same time, you can see the total number of units on sale and on for rent. For sale, right, you will definitely be competing with the parcel A plot, the prices. And also, when you think about it, when these 4 plots TOP in 4 years' time, definitely for rental, you'll be competing with a new group of market over here. On one hand, we do have the parcel A looking very close and looking at a very attractive entry price with resale price support at Irwell Hill Residences. And on the other hand, you might be able to get a good deal, especially if you're looking at the Irwell Hill Residences resale the moment when the parcel A launch over here. Actually today, right, if you're looking for own stay and not purely at investment, I definitely think that Irwell Hill Residences, you can still revisit this development the moment when the launch for parcel A at the River Valley Green actually launch. Because if this parcel A launch lower, I think a lot of the owners at Irwell Hill Residences will actually be stuck. So this can result in a few things. Either they lower the pricing for Irwell Hill Residences in the resale market, or they are forced to compete with the upcoming parcel B as well. If the owners they want to let go at a certain pricing, they cannot be selling higher than the new launch in the area. So if you want to compare between the units upon launch, you can feel free to contact me via WhatsApp at 84849302 because for this video, I'm just going to cover for Irwell Hill Residences. And if you would like to know your options at the River Valley area in the resale market or just the new launch market, you can let me know because for me, I can actually do comparisons for the Avenir, Martin Modern and Riviere. I think in this area, the resale options are very, very attractive because the supply here is quite high. So I think today, if you're looking for own stay in this area, I'm quite sure we are able to get a good deal, especially in this high supply market in this particular area. Okay, so over here, I have the charts for Irwell Hill Residences when it first launched, and also the CCR, RCR, and OCR new launch prices from back then. So first up, we want to look at the price change. For Irwell Hill from 2021 all the way to 2025, we are looking at about a 10% in terms of capital appreciation. Whereas for the entire CCR region, this same time period, we're looking at a price increase of about 6% to 7%. RCR, same time period, 33% increase. OCR, 51% increase. And these are all just for the new launches. So definitely when we see the numbers, right, Irwell Hill Residences did outperform the overall CCR market in the past 4 years, but it's still lagging behind the RCR and also the OCR region for the new launches in terms of pricing. So now moving on, I think this is quite important. I'm gonna be touching on the price gap for Irwell Hill Residences between the different regions. So when you see from 2021, Irwell Hill to RCR, we are looking at a 22% gap. Whereas when we fast forward to today, the 2025 gap, we are looking at 6% only. So that's why I just now mentioned, I really think if today you are looking at opportunity in the CCR region, especially the River Valley over here, because the RCR new launch prices right already have moved up so much, I definitely think this River Valley area is being overlooked. Now when we compare Irwell Hill to the OCR prices, the gap back then was about 45%. And then fast forward to today, we're looking at 32%. So this gap has already narrowed down by about 12%. Now, last but not least, we have the CCR 2025 to Irwell Hills today's pricing, and we are looking at only a small gap of 2.04%. So that is why, some people, they might feel, might as well I go and buy the CCR new launch, right? What for I go and buy this resale Irwell Hill Residences? Yeah, so that's why there's all these comparisons right now, and there's certain parts of the CCR that I really feel there's a good deal if you potentially look closely at it. I never really touched on the CCR price gap versus Irwell Hill because you can see back then when Irwell Hill launched 2021, the price gap between the CCR and Irwell Hill was actually very close already. So this is almost the similar pricing we see even at today. Okay, so if you like my video and how I analyze projects, you can feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And also you can take a look at my previous videos on how I actually analyze the Singapore properties market and also the previous launches in 2025. And also, if you want a personalized consultation, you can scan the QR code or reach out to me via WhatsApp at 8484-9302 because I think definitely today in the CCR market, especially in the River Valley area, there is some opportunities that I feel you can even see in the new launch and in the resale market. So do feel free to reach out to me and I look forward to hear from you guys. Thank you. Bye.